All right, welcome back to the podcast, Mind of the Mustang show here at Monte Vista Christian School. I'm Isaiah Guzman, your host here with your co-host, Dusty Moniz, who is the athletic director here. And we're on episode 10. We made it to a dime here. Wow. So 10 episodes deep. We haven't been that regular. We try to do it once a week, but, there's been a few times we do a couple in a week and then nothing for 2 weeks. So thank you, Mustang family, for bearing with us in our inconsistency as we get this thing going and figure out what the heck we're doing, because neither one of us are professional podcasters. Although I did write for newspapers. Don Keathley was listening to the show one time. I was like, any suggestions? And he's like, yeah, I think you sold yourself short a few times. So I guess that's it. Yeah. I'm a storyteller, but yeah. Anyhow, the show is basically, it's the intersection of faith and sports. And I don't want to say faith. It's the intersection of Jesus Christ and sports, and how we can glorify him through sports, talking to coaches, athletes, anybody involved in sports, and how their walk with the Lord, how that impacts the way that they coach, the way they play, the way they just do what they do in athletics. So before we start today, we got a cool guest, but Dusty knows him way better than I do. They got stories on each other. They got a bunch of dirt on each other from way back college baseball days, but I'll let Dusty do the intro in a little bit. But first, I wanted to just reflect back. Yesterday was the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. What was it? Super Bowl what? 50 what? 56?
Jeez, I don't know.
I don't know. I should know. Whatever. It was the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. And so I was sitting here in my backyard over the weekend, and I saw, did you see fighter jets flying over, dude? Did you hear them?
There's been a ton of those lately.
Yeah, I didn't. So all weekend I'm hearing these fighter jets flying overhead, and there was like smaller jets with one big one, and they're like flying in V formation.
I saw the same thing.
You saw that? And
I actually looked it up.
I did too, but they're preparing for the Super Bowl. But I went out in my backyard. I'm like, dude, are we at war? Is that Air Force One up there? I was like, is Air Force One getting an escort or something? But they were just preparing for the flyover for the national anthem for the Super Bowl. But it was at Levi Stadium, the 49ers Stadium in Santa Clara, and the Seahawks defeated the Dusty's New England Patriots.
Let's not talk about it.
He's bummed, but they got like 20 championships. They got nothing to be sad about. You guys have? Oh, we're sad because we haven't had a Super Bowl championship in 5 years. We've waited so long. But so the Seahawks defeated the Patriots 29-13. But I wanted to touch on, there's a cool storyline in that game, and it's the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, Mike Macdonald, and he's a believer. He's a follower of Jesus, and not everybody knows that probably. And I think he's the youngest head coach, I believe, to win a Super Bowl. 38 years old. Yeah. 38, right? But the story with him is so cool because he did not come up through the ranks of football, and I thought it would be cool to touch on this story because we're going to be talking today about college recruiting and how athletes can kind of give themselves a better shot to play at the next level from a guy here who does college recruiting. But basically, Mike Macdonald did not play college football, did not play pro football, and he wound up winning. He was a head coach in the NFL and just won himself a Super Bowl. And he did not have the same stuff on paper. He did not have the traditional resume that so many coaches do in the NFL. He did not follow the traditional route. He didn't have the things that coaches typically get rewarded for. And he felt called, though, to be a coach. He said he really felt in his heart that God called him to be a coach. But his story is that he basically was going to I think it was University of Georgia for finance. And he stayed after he finished his degree, and he was a grad assistant, and he started coaching high school, and then from there he had some like grunt level like quality control roles coaching in college, and just the grimy sleeping on the couch in the coach's office, getting paid dirt. Nobody knows who the heck you are, doesn't know your name, long hours, and he worked his way up, but he did that because he really felt clear in his heart what his call was from God. He knew what his purpose was, and he did not, again, on paper, have what people might think that you would need to do what he did. And it just reminded me so much of my walk with the Lord, specifically with vocation. It's like every role that I've ever had that really just was amazing and was a blessing to me, I was not qualified for on paper. Like wrote for newspapers. I didn't even have a journalism degree. I'd never written for a high school paper. I'd never written for a college paper. I just felt like God, I knew in my heart I wanted to be a sports writer. And I cold called a newspaper one day and said, hey, can I be an intern? And I didn't know what an intern was. And the guy on the other end of the phone was like, slow down, buddy. What's your name? And like, you know, but it's like God had this calling on me. And so I wound up writing for newspapers. And then after that, I became a wildland firefighter. And again, on paper, I did not have any of the stuff that people normally do to be qualified. And it's like, I applied all over the country and I got one phone call back from one spot, and it was late in the season, and it was because they really needed somebody. And the guy told me, my boss told me later, he said, hey, we basically needed somebody else. We need another brother on the crew. He was Mexican and I'm Mexican. And he's like, we need more diversity on the crew. And I saw your last name and I was like, I'm going to call this dude up. And so their need to basically fill the quota is what got me the job, but it was really the Lord that got me the job. And then after that, being a teacher, I'd never taught, did not have a teaching credential, didn't even finish playing high school baseball, and later found myself coaching and teaching in high school. So all that to say that, like, and I don't want to take away from the recruiting process. We're going to learn today that there's things that people can do to help themselves out, but ultimately, like, to put things in God's hand. And if he's got a plan for you, he's going to take you on some detours in life. I'm sure Dusty never thought he'd be athletic director here at Monte Vista Christian School. I never thought that I'd be doing what I do. But I truly feel like if God has a calling for you, it doesn't matter what you got on paper, like he's going to make it happen. And if he doesn't have that spot for you, he's got a purpose for you, and it may not be what you think it is, but he's going to get you where he needs to get you. So,
amen. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, a little known fact, and since we're about to introduce our guest here, another wonderful, great football coach, if you're a Patriots fan, Bill Belichick, you know, D3 football player, squash and lacrosse. And he played at Wesleyan University, and, you know, a D3 football player, becoming pretty much Hall of Famer, you know, one of the best coaches ever to do it. Maybe the best, right?
Yeah.
In the NFL, like, it's a similar thing, right? It's just, you know, and I don't know if Belichick's a believer. I don't think he is, but yeah, it's like it may be small beginnings, you know, or humble beginnings. Yeah.
Totally.
So anyways, our guest today, his name is Garrett Lamborne, baseball coach at Wesleyan University, also coached at Hamilton College. Both of those universities are part of what's called the NESCAC, which is the New England Small College Athletic Conference. A lot of our athletes should be looking at those schools. We have fantastic students, and those are fantastic universities, colleges for, you know, they're considered small Ivy League schools. They're really wonderful academic institutions on the East Coast. I know it's kind of far from here and a lot colder, but they are unbelievable universities. And actually, we had a good amount of college kids on those. A lot of kids. I'm sorry, said that wrong. Good amount of California kids tend to go out there, especially for sports like baseball.
Yeah.
Garrett has also worked as a recruiter in the baseball world and is an expert on how to get on the map with coaches and just kind of what that process should look like. Garrett and I played together at Wesleyan, and he was a captain. And I would say he is a hitter of bombs on the baseball field. Still? I bet he could still just swing it a little bit.
Nice.
Garrett, welcome to the show, man.
Go bat. We haven't swung at a real pitch in a few years. Yeah.
Garrett also played professionally, actually. I forgot that. He played in Europe and Belgium, right? And then went on to Australia to play pro ball, which is pretty cool, too.
Yeah, baseball, similar to your story, took me to a lot of places that I was not expecting, and has brought me back to Wesleyan, and certainly brought me the good fortune of bringing Dusty into my life. So excited to be here and talk about recruiting with you guys.
That's cool. Leave it up to your former teammates to neglect the fact that you played pro ball, huh?
That's right. The jealousy.
He's got other stories. Yeah, whatever. And he played pro ball. Let me tell you about.
Let me tell you about that time I struck him out at practice.
Yeah, there you go.
the knuckleball. It was very, very difficult to get that judgment on for that Darby knuckle.
Oh, you had a knuckle?
Yeah. I used to kind of mess around with it. I didn't really throw it that much when I was actually pitching, but
for those of you who don't know,
I wanted to.
Dusty's a lefty, so a knuckleball coming from a lefty.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's great. Did he throw it? Like, do you remember much about Dusty's pitching before we get into this? Like, was he wild? Did he have control? Did he throw gas? Did he throw a heavy ball? Like, what do you remember?
I mean, for when Dusty and I played, which were not that old, but we're old enough.
Yeah.
Dusty threw hard. Today's day and age, I don't know that
Yeah.
what Dusty was throwing considered hard anymore.
Seriously.
But he had a nasty Vulcan change, which is like a split change. It had really good depth to it.
Nice.
And he didn't throw it in the games because our coach didn't think he could throw it enough for strikes. But the knuckleball, when I faced Dusty, was unhittable.
Nice.
Yeah. I actually had it. I had it down. So
That's cool. That's not an easy pitch to throw.
yeah, kind of weird, kind of mental thing with me on that because
Yeah.
I didn't throw it a lot in college, and then I wanted to throw it after college, just like in men's leagues, and I'd get like, I don't know, I'd just be like, I'll just throw the changeup or something. Like, I don't know.
That's you were like intimidated, like you
And
were scared to throw.
Yeah, it's like a mental thing. Maybe it just, I don't know. But I love playing catch with it. It's super fun. Throwing it to kids in batting practice is kind of fun. It's irritating, actually, more than anything, probably to them. But
These days, dude, like, I'm wondering, do you know what you threw back then? Like high 80s, low 90s? What?
my last, the last like tryout pro league kind of tryout thing I did. I don't know, Garrett, did you go with me to that?
I didn't go to the Phillies stuff with you.
Oh, okay. I hit like 87.
Nice.
Yeah, so
These days, you're like, you're 16 and you're not throwing 95 yet? Well, we got to get you on a program.
yeah, but it's what kids do a lot today. They're like, oh, I throw 87, but I was throwing like 84, 85 with the occasional 87, and that's why it was like, not.
Your time came to
that was the end of my baseball career. Well, competitive baseball career. So I played some men's league and stuff after that, which was fun. But
that's cool.
All right, well, I'll stop talking about me here.
Reminiscing.
Let's talk about our kids. So, Garrett, like one of the things I wanted to talk about first is just I think I've had the opportunity to kind of walk a lot of D1 athletes through this process myself as well. And one of the things that there's a couple of things I want to talk about, but one of the things is, I feel like when coaches talk to me, they have an idea of the talent level, but they really want to know about the kid and who they are. And I'll throw this word out there, coachability seems to be a big one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in recruiting, we at Wesleyan, we call them the 3 C's, which is competition, classroom, and character. I've also heard them referred to the ABCs of recruiting in baseball, which is academics, baseball, and character. And really, when we're talking to coaches and talking to recruiters, we can determine the baseball piece of it. We can determine, do you have the skills? Do you throw hard enough? Do you hit the ball hard enough? Do you hit the ball consistently enough? Can you make the plays defensively? What we can't get a good idea and gauge of without having people we know and trust is who is the person. And we try and do that by getting out and watching games, how you act and how you respond when bad things happen, because invariably they will. You're going to be challenged more at the next level than you ever have been before. Are you somebody who has good body language, bad body language? Are you somebody who spikes your glove in baseball, is slam a helmet, slam a bat? Like, how do you respond? Those are things that we're looking for and trying to get an idea of. But when we talk to programs, that's often the first question is who's the person, who's the family? Like, what can you tell me about the kid beyond the field and beyond the academics that I can try and kind of determine for myself?
Yeah. So when we're talking a lot about, I mean, at the high school level, right? When I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to kids, and I'm trying to explain the importance of athletics at this level, right? And I think the thing that we kind of hang our hat on as athletic directors is like teaching kids the virtue, kind of building character, how sports can, the quote, the famous John Wooden, right? Sports reveal character, or they don't build character, they reveal it. I think they do both. They probably build it and reveal it. But I think like that's where that's like why we're like, this is why athletics are important. But then I think what happens is kids have grown up playing club sports and they're kind of sold this bill of goods that is, you're going to do this, you're going to go on the next step, you're next step, and it all ends with playing in college, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things that college coaches are looking for are the kids who's learned the character lessons along the way, right?
Yeah, you need good kids. It's no fun coaching kids that aren't fun to be around. You're the same people we're going to spend the most time with. We do our best to hope to be the people that families will entrust with the growth and development of their young men in a pivotal point in their social and education and athletic development. But at the same time, like, if I had a kid who could throw 95 and was awful to be around, I'd rather lose to that kid than have that kid on my team and win.
No.
Mm-hmm. Totally. That's powerful. That's a big statement.
Yeah.
I guess, how do you find the balance then, right? Because you're looking for people, you're not looking for perfect human beings either, right? They're 18 years old coming out of high school. So like, as far as character, like, what's the balance? Looking for somebody who has that good body language and all those types of things, right? Like the intangibles and the like the character strengths, but also knowing that they're a young person and they need to be molded still, right? Like, you know what I mean? You're not trying to you're a great baseball player, and I'm looking for a pastor. You need to be a pastor and a CBO and an athlete, right?
Yeah. I mean, in baseball parlance, I like to say that we'd always, like, every single kid, if we could, we'd recruit Shohei Ohtani. Like, the kid who can literally do everything, throw 100 and hit the ball 100 and steal 50 bags. Like, if I could recruit 100 Shoheis, I would, but I'm not going to. No kid's going to be perfect. No kid's going to be perfect on and off the field. If I could say that I was perfect, that would be a bold-faced lie, and Dusty'd be able to come back and tell you some pretty good stories on me. So, no, we know that they're young men. We know that they're kids, and they're trying to figure it out. But the better you can be, the more aspirational you can be, both on and off the field, as a student, as an athlete, as a person, the more opportunity and doors you're going to open up for yourself. So you're never going to be perfect, but you can certainly strive to be better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll just keep going here with this line of thinking. Like, one of the things that I noticed with especially the Division I kids, I think this is happening at D3 too, though, is they're not just inviting the kid to meet the coaches and learn what the program is. They're inviting the parents. I know when we went on those trips when I was younger, I just thought it was, so I could get there, or so they could, just show my parents to school. But I think it's also a little bit of an interview for the parent. And tell me, just kind of like, if you're listening to this and your kids, working to get recruited, what can parents do to best support their kid? And yeah, I guess just go from there.
I think the role of the parent largely is to set guardrails and, like, give the kids some level of guidance as to what they might want to get out of the college process, and what they're willing to invest into it. Because college at this point, even at almost every level, cost is always going to be an aspect of it, and understanding what you can afford to pay and what you're willing to invest in, and what that investment ultimately is intended for, what you're trying to get the growth from. Those are important things for parents to give, helping kids to understand the investment that they're going to make with their time. It's not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. So trying to give them the advantage of the time that you've had on this earth, and providing your guidance as to what they should be looking for. Those are areas that parents can help. Parents can also help because we have to be, as coaches, people that the parents are comfortable with too. And so we absolutely want parents to be involved in the process. But the kids need to be the one that are driving the process, because ultimately the kid is the one that's going to be going to the school. So they have to be comfortable at the school and in the environment. But if there's questions about finances, if there's questions about how a coach will mentor and help develop your son or daughter, like, those are things that are all very reasonable and within bound for a parent. And some coaches, ourselves included, we try and pay attention, and we're not perfect. We're not infallible to how kids interact with their parents on these visits. Like, are they respectful to mom and dad? That's important to know. Or are they dismissive of their parents? Because your parents are investing in you as much as anybody else. So having respect for people that care about you is important for a lot of schools.
Yeah. So hear that, Mustangs. B, honor your mother and father. But I also wonder, like, I mean, there's probably some times where it seems like the whole thing's being driven by the parent, not the kid, or you get a parent who maybe hasn't had good boundaries with coaches before. And I know we have good boundaries here at Monte Vista, but I've heard stories, in the high school world. And, how does that, because I think, one of the things that college coaches have always asked me as an AD, or when, more so when I'm coaching, is just like, hey, what is it like working with the family? Yeah. I don't know if you'd speak to that.
Yeah, 100%. Once they're in college, for the most part, they're going to be 18. They're adults. We, in a lot of ways, can't talk to parents about a lot of things without the kids' permission or consent or desire to interact with the parents. So having a parent that is not willing to cut the cord to an extent can certainly be a challenge. In the recruiting process, where it rears its head more often is a lot of parents think they're helping their kids by writing emails for them. Every coach can tell when an email is written by a kid or written by a parent. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. And it's not just only when dad accidentally leaves his name in the email instead of their son's name. Like it's pretty clear when a parent wrote an email. So let your kids learn to be men or learn to be women by taking control of their process and writing those emails and interacting with coaches on their own. And then again, step in the places where you need to make sure that your kids are looking at the schools that are appropriate for what they should be getting out of their experience. And again, what you're willing to and able to invest in their experience, and have them try and take as much ownership as possible. And then when the time comes, ask the question that you should be asking, which is cost, mentorship, development. What's student life like for my son? Like, is this a place where he's going to be able to grow into the person that I want them to be? And is this a person that I can trust by my child to? Those are things that I think are reasonable and things that parents should look for, because outside of your parent, in my opinion, the coach is the single most greatest impact on a person's development at this age. So you got to make sure that those align.
Big time. I'm just curious. So you've been doing this for a while now. Like what common, you talked about character, but what common trait would you say, if you're saying like the number one trait in the student athletes who are successful in the long run, not just the recruiting process, but, through their college playing days, possibly even playing beyond that, what common attribute would you say is the greatest, has been the most important? And on the flip side, which common attribute would you say has been the most detrimental to those who don't make it, who wash out? If we're talking like character attributes, not playing, not skill.
Yeah, I think it's true care and love and passion for the game, especially at our level, because at the Division III level, you need to put in the same time and effort and work to be successful as you do at the Division I level, but it's not mandated by a coach nearly as often. And you have to love it, or it starts to feel like work. And I think that's true of everything in life. Like, if you are not passionate for what it is that you are doing, work is going to feel way harder to do. If you love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. And I tried a few times to do things that weren't coaching, and they didn't mesh for me. So that's how I continue to do what I'm doing.
Garrett is a testament to loving a sport, not letting anything stop him from. I'm gonna brag on Garrett for a second here. When Garrett got to Wesleyan, Garrett, were you recruited?
I thought I was.
Okay.
Coach called me every week.
Yeah, so we can talk a little bit about over recruiting, because I think that was a little bit of the case when we were there maybe a long time ago. But it seemed like we had guys like Garrett who showed up, and it seemed like it was already decided that you weren't gonna kind of go on the trip or whatever and play at the varsity levels freshman year. But Garrett is an insatiable worker. And that's maybe why we were so close, is because like we just always wanted to go to the gym or like or he'd catch me, I'd throw, and he was a catcher at one point, and throwing BP or whatever. And but Garrett goes from not being on the team really, like the main team, to like the best player we had, playing professional baseball, hitting a number of home runs, like just kind of like unstoppable his senior year. Yeah, I mean, almost all of our success that year was due to him and a few other guys. I mean, the whole team was pretty good that senior year, but yeah, it's really cool to kind of see that happen. And I think the motive, it's funny now to watch you as a coach, because it's like, and I've seen you kind of go back, leave coaching for a little bit and come back. It's like, yeah, of course, it's like what you're made to do. It's like what God made him to do. So pretty cool. Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's always been a personal calling card. So it's something that I certainly take note of is how people work. But I also do think that it's a clear indication of the people that will be successful. How hard you work at anything, you may not be as successful as you want to be. You may not ultimately achieve what it is that you hope to achieve, but it's through work that you give yourself a chance to do that. It's through commitment to something that you give yourself a chance to do that. And Coach McDonald, like the example you led off with, is a great example and a testament to that. Like, he got hurt his senior year of high school, and then he fell in love with coaching, and he worked his tail off, and he demanded for Georgia to let him be a GA. Like, he just kept pounding the pavement until they let him in. Yeah. But then it's also like, his story is funny because he was days from giving up and going to work in Wall Street or something. Right. He had like $55,000 a year job that he'd been offered, and he was ready to accept it. And then whether it's his faith or life or whatever, he that same week got the offer to work with the Ravens, and then worked his way up there. And sometimes it is through good hard work that you give yourself a chance to be able to capitalize when those opportunities come.
100%. Yeah, that's I think I didn't even know that part of the story. The rest of it, that's so cool though. But like 100%, we still got to do our part, right? And God can open doors for us, but we have to do our part, and it's people don't realize. Yeah, he could have. I think this is about so much more than just sports. I think anybody listening, whether you're a parent and you're switching jobs or you're entering a new career or whatever, that it's, Scripture says, seek first the kingdom and all these things will be added unto you. And Jesus is talking about not worrying about what you will wear, what you will eat, where you will sleep. And he's not talking about seek first the kingdom doesn't mean like you have to be some pastor like ministry. It just means like follow the Lord and he will provide all those things. And Mike McDonald could have easily, he majored in finance, and it could have been like, man, this path for coaching football here doesn't look so lucrative right now. What I see in front of me, I see like getting paid dirt and working long hours, but I love this thing. And the other path is like Wall Street. I can go and make some money right now, but it ain't my passion, Right. And he chose like, when I say like he felt like he was called by the Lord, when I said calling, it's like what you're talking about, where it's in your heart and you have that passion, and that's an okay thing, like to chase that passion, because we could say whatever we want, but like we're all, the Bible says like do all things as unto the Lord. But like if we're doing something we love, every one of us is going to work way harder doing something we love than something we hate. And so he passed up on the money, right? Like instant gratification, and did what he loved, and he didn't worry about that part of it. He sought first the kingdom, and I mean, not only is he probably making more money than he would have in the other path, but he's doing what he loved, right?
Well, and the thing too is, if you had asked him when he was 16 years old, he probably said he would have wanted to play in the Super Bowl, not coach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so God also leads us in different seasons, and like sometimes what we are super passionate about, it may be that not that thing that is for us in the next season. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I mean, I think the faith to follow those things and pursue them it's exactly that. It's an act of faith.
100%. So. And as I just say, for me, I know there's been times in life where I took that step of faith and I just didn't care about the money and let the Lord provide. And I just did what I felt in my heart I wanted to do and what he was calling me to do. And there's been other times I haven't. I took the safe route. And when you take the safe route, you get what you get. Like he's like, okay, go for it. It'll be safe.
Yeah.
It's nice and safe and it's comfy. And then you go about a year or two into that and you're like, this sucks. This is boring. This isn't my passion. And you're like,
Yeah.
I want a little danger, God. Like, call
Yeah.
me again. Like, I'm ready to pick up the phone. Call me again. I want to do the thing that,
Yeah.
you know?
No, for sure.
And so, and yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right. Well, let me ask you another question, Garrett, because I think this is something I get all the time. It's kind of like, well, how do I realistically know if I am just a high school athlete? Am I a Division III? Am I an AIA? Am I a Division II? Am I a D1? How can I what are some of the things like, maybe you can be specific onto baseball when it comes to like a pitcher or something. That's an easy one because there's a lot of metrics involved. Or, I know the game of baseball.
You got to be lefty and you have to have a nasty knuckleball and throw 87.
There you go. No. But then but what would it be if you're, yeah, but then we can maybe kind of broaden that out to the rest of sports as well.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to determine that is to put yourself in a position to be seen by people that make those judgments and ask the question that you don't want the answer to, which is, what is that level for me? Like, that's the easiest way to determine it. It's the hardest too, but the simplest is to go to a camp at a school where that coach has a reputation with coaches that that he's going to tell you, yes, you can play at my level, or no, you can't. And what do you need to do to improve to be able to get there? And asking that question and getting that answer. From baseball, there's certainly base level of skill, and it's ascending with the advent of the transfer portal. And in baseball specifically, the reduction of minor league baseball. Power 4 baseball right now is literally professional baseball 5 years ago.
Okay.
It's not even close.
We all wouldn't have made the team anymore.
No, it wouldn't be particularly close. We'd be Division II baseball is Division I baseball 5 years ago. Division III baseball, a lot of Division III baseball is Division I baseball 5 years ago. I had 3 or 4 kids that I really, really liked in this recruiting cycle as young men that I thought were really good players, really talented. We just had other guys that we felt fit a little bit better that I had to say, hey, bud, like, truthfully, 5 years ago, I think you're the D1 guy. And right now at Division III Wesleyan, I have to say no. Like, and if there's anything I can do to help you, like, let me know. But we don't want to over recruit. And if I said yes, like, we're over recruiting.
Right. And so it's gotten so much harder, right? I mean, I think we could say that across the board. And so what does that mean for those kids who you had to say no to? Is that maybe NAIA, or maybe is that like, hey, maybe high school is where it ends? Like, how, like...
It depends on the kid, and it also depends on the level, because there's certainly some NAIA schools that are just as good or better than what we play at the Division III level. But there's some where it's lower, and there's some Division III schools where they'll still take anybody just because they're roster driven and they need bodies to be able to keep the school open.
Right.
So understanding what you're looking for, but also understanding the sacrifices that you're making by going to some of those schools.
Academically or facilities wise, or
academically, facility wise, legitimate opportunity. Like, looking at the size of the rosters, because there are some schools that have in baseball 100-man rosters because they just have 6 college teams. Like, they have a varsity, a JV, and like a freshman team, and it's almost being run like a high school program at this point, where they have roster on roster on roster on roster because they need to drive enrollment at their school. So just getting a gauge for what that school is and what they're actually offering you. And again, trying to ask as many of those questions as you can to try and get as honest an answer as you can is my greatest advice in the recruiting process. And don't be afraid of no. No can be tremendously powerful, because it just that door might be closed, but there's another door that's going to open. But yeah, there's going to be kids that unfortunately, high school may be the end of the line. And some of those kids also might try and go somewhere else that they wouldn't have tried to go otherwise, and try and walk on and create something great, or go play club at a bigger school or something like that. And there's some really good club programs out there. It's ultimately your path will be your path, and if you're passionate about it, you'll find a way to stay involved in it, even if it's just as little as fantasy sports. You find out what you want to do and what you're willing to sacrifice. And my advice at the college level is don't make academics the thing you sacrifice. I'm biased by where I'm at and where I coach, and that we are one of the elite academic institutions in the country, but shouldn't be going to a school that might be closed next year just because they have a baseball program that'll let you in if you can get into Yale. You should be going somewhere that's going to give you the degree that's going to be able to set you up for the 40 years beyond college.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I was going to just touch on is you said you need to ask somebody who can answer the question, and maybe that's multiple people, right? Maybe it's not just your high school coach. Maybe it's also the coach of your club team. Maybe it's also the coach at these schools, maybe it's going to a showcase and getting feedback from coaches there. One of the things that I did want to ask you about is just high school sports. I love high school sports because I think they're very pure still, right? You have a coach who's generally not associated with any, other teams. They may coach club or something, but when they're coaching high school, they're generally not a parent. It's somebody who is just there to they're not making a lot of money. They're there to try to put, in the sport of baseball, 9 guys on the field who can go out and win a game and teach them something beyond baseball, right? So when you ask that coach, hey, am I a college level athlete? Given the background of that coach, they may be able to answer that question honestly for you. Do you sometimes see club coaches maybe not answering that question as honest as it should be because there's financial ties? Like, is that something to be wary of potentially?
Always, anytime you're asking anybody any question, you should look at the motivation for what their answer may be. If there's any kind of potential ulterior motives, and certainly club programs, like, they exist based on the payments of their constituents. They wouldn't be able to run a program if they didn't have enough players. They wouldn't be able to get the players that are good enough recruited if they didn't have enough players to be able to field a team. So certainly there's going to be ulterior motives, potential for ulterior motives, but there are good and bad actors and everything.
Yeah.
Bad actors in the college game. There's good and bad actors in the high school game. There's good and bad actors in the club game. So I think that a diversity of opinion is tremendously valuable, and that's the best way to go, is try and get as many opinions as you can, and try and come to a consensus and figure out the ones that you trust in the process.
I didn't mean to sound like I'm dogging club coaches, because I'm not. They're fantastic. Like 99.9% of them are unbelievable. It's just, I've also heard some horror stories where families are dragged along into thousands of dollars to play on something specific, a specific team or specific role. And then, everyone's kind of watching going, hey, they're using parents' best intentions against them, right?
Yep. 100%. 100%. It happens.
So that diversity of opinion sounds like some really good advice. So, yeah.
It's also important to know your timeline and where you're at in the process. I think in recruiting, in the vast majority of sports, they have not eliminated, but they have minimized the ability of college coaches to recruit prior to your junior year of high school. So if you're a freshman and sophomore, live in the gym, get bigger, get stronger, get better at your sport. And depending on the design of your club and depending on the design of the tournaments you're going to, like, these tournaments are great. I love them. Like, they're a great way for me to see a bunch of kids in one spot, but there's some tournaments where it's supposedly about environment and to have these kids exposed, and I could be driving 2 hours between games and missing games. If you're not at the point of being somebody who's ready to be offered, you need to get bigger, you need to get stronger, you need to get faster, and you need to get better at your sport. And going to travel tournaments just for the heck of going to travel tournaments a lot of times is a wasted expense.
Yeah,
I could see that. Big question. Does, travel ball, all the accessories that kids are wearing and stuff these days, does that help you get recruited? If they have upside down Oakleys on their hat and they have like a neon yellow arm sleeve?
I am unfortunately still old school, and I can't. All that stuff just drives me bonkers.
some negative points for Garrett.
Oven mitt in your back pocket.
Yeah, no, I'm all set. The kid with no batting gloves who tough as nails and just wants to go out and compete and has dirt on his uni. That's the kid I want.
Yeah, you hear that, kids? Do you hear that?
But the accessories aren't a bad thing. I don't actually knock a kid for it, but there's a different degree and level. Like if you're wearing it because you think it looks cool and you're trying to get cool points,
yeah.
Or if you're wearing it because you think it actually helps you, like that, you can tell the difference. Like the oven mitt can actually help kids. Like kids get hurt.
Yeah,
so
sure. I've jammed my thumb for sure sliding that person.
But if you're doing it because it looks cool, I'm all set. Like that's
so
that ain't it.
You mentioned training hard, working hard, getting better. For the kid, that's something we're going to talk more about on future podcasts as well, is just like, what does training hard actually look like, right? Like, is it, I was in the cage twice this week. It's like, I think it's you're in the cage every day, it's that kind of thing. But one of the things that I also wanted to, we can talk about training hard, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about, like, do you think it's often that a kid is at the level of being, able to play at the NCAA level? Like they're there, they should be recruited and then they aren't. Do you think that happens, or is that pretty rare?
I think it happens more often than people care to admit. I think that the old adage of if you're good enough, they'll find you is people thinking that college coaches are better at their job than they are. We can't be in a million places. We are not omnipresent. We are only where we can be. So if you're good enough and you put yourself in a place to be seen by those coaches, you will be likely recruited. But there's a cost associated with that too. Like we run a handful of camps a year at Wesleyan. I am completely understanding that you cannot go to every single camp. There's not, even if you had enough money, you could. There's not enough time because they're going to overlap. So going to the right places with the right coaches at the schools that you want to say yes to, you'll get seen and you'll get that evaluation from those people.
So if we had to put kind of like a order of operations of things, like, all right, I'm a freshman, sophomore, I'm working my butt off to get better. That's what I'm doing. I'm focused on playing and having fun. I think those are two things that, like working on that. So now we get into, junior year and options start becoming available potentially, or we need to start getting seen. Now we're starting to maybe start with conversations with trusted coaches, adults who can give you an idea of where they may see you fit.
Mm-hmm.
Then now the second step is, okay, now I know some locations that I'm interested in and I may fit. Now it's going to a camp there or going to a showcase where that coach is going to be at, or and emailing
100%. And again, like you can blast email. I'm one of the people who is more open and available with my time than most. So I'm going to read every email I get. But if you blast email, you're going to get so many responses. The better thing to do is to send targeted emails to the schools that you're interested in, that you think that your skill set and ability actually pretends to potentially be able to play, and do something in that email that is specific to that university. Like do something to make them know that you are specifically interested in Wesleyan because you think it's really cool that Bill Belichick went there. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever the small tidbit is of something that's unique that makes them know that you're just emailing them. And every email you send to every coach, I would tell you to include all of your academic information, the most recent video that you have, and whatever your upcoming schedule is, whether it's your high school schedule or your summer schedule, wherever you might be, for them to be able to have it at their fingertips as to what they need to know about you to know whether they can and would want to recruit you or not. Make it easy for them because most coaches aren't that smart.
Right. And so now you've got your emails going, and now maybe you hear back from a few of them. Maybe you don't, and you really want to go to that school though. Maybe now we're looking at a camp there, or we're looking at a showcase that that coach is going to be at, something like that.
Yeah, force their hand. Get in front of them. If it's a school you really want to go to and you really think you have the chops to play there, force their hand. Go. The best way is to go to their camp because you're guaranteed to be seen by them and they're guaranteed to be having to pay attention to you. But any of the camps that they're registered to be at, one thing to be wary of when you're looking at camps is some camps will notate coaches that have been to their event in the past, and some camps will notate which coaches are going to be attending a camp.
Yeah.
And going to be attending a camp is very different than coaches that have attended our camps in the past, because coaches that are attending a camp, generally that means that coach or that school is being paid to get to that camp. And so they should, by all accounts, be there because they're contracted to be there. And if it says this coach has attended this camp in the past, that does not mean that they're necessarily going to be there. And then stuff happens here and there where a coach might not be able to get to something that they're supposed to be at. But if it says this coach is going to be attending this event, then you know that they should be there.
Because we know that, like sometimes in the club ball world, these showcases are also making a good amount of money.
Yep.
And it's possible that they may say that there's a ton of coaches coming to watch you play, and then it's not the ones you were looking for, or maybe not many at all. And I've seen that happen in the baseball world for sure. All right, so you've attended the camp. Let's talk about, I guess now we're getting into feedback after the camp and offers, and how do I know, and what do I do if I get an offer? What do I do if the coach is talking to me but hasn't made an offer? Where are we there?
Yeah, it should become pretty clear and apparent whether a coach is actually actively recruiting you or not. If you're good enough and they like you and you have the academics of what they're looking for, they're not going to make a secret of the fact that they want you to come to their school. Depends on the time of the year, depends on the point in the recruiting process of that individual institution. So like Wesleyan, for instance, in our conference, we have a rule that we are not allowed to make any formal offers until July 1st of the junior to senior summer. So we can't make a formal offer until then because we need a full junior year's transcript, be able to get an academic pre-read. So until that date, we're not going to make an offer. We may say, hey, assuming the read comes back favorable, we really like what you do on the baseball field, but we can't do anything until July 1st. Other schools, there's some D3 schools that have commitments already during the junior year, which to me is asinine because I don't feel like any kid who's good enough to be offered at a Division III level right now would be willing to necessarily accept it, but they have decided that that's the path that they want to go down. So good for them and good for those schools. But yeah, each school is going to have a different timeline and what they can do and when they can offer. So just making sure that you're aware kind of what that looks like. And you get the offer, then you just have to make a decision. Is this a place that I want to be? I would hope if you went to their camp that it is a place that you could see yourself being. And is this a place that is high enough on my list that I want to say yes? I would argue if it's a school that's like a top 5 on your list, don't hold out hope for number one if you've got number five, because a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush type deal. But if it's 10, 11, 12, you probably shouldn't have gone to their camp, because it's probably a waste of your time and your money to do that, and the coach's time to potentially be considering you, and making sure you're being targeted and efficient with your efforts would be my encouragement there.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. All right, so like at the D3 level, I know at Wesleyan I had to early decision.
Early decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much everything in the recruiting world, at least in baseball, and there's some sports that still recruit through regular. But in baseball, pretty much every school is into either an early decision or early action, depending on what the application standard of their schools are. So for the Ivy League, it's early action, but it's like essentially an early decision. It's like a committed early action. I don't know the exact terminology, but in the NESCAC at Wesleyan, we try and get all, if not almost all, of our recruiting done in ED1, and then we do have an early decision 2 that we can get guys to apply to. Because of the Division III level, what we're offering is academic support to assist in the admissions process. At an NESCAC school, we're never allowed to guarantee it, because it's up to you to ultimately go in and do the work to be fully admitted, but putting our thumb on the scale of saying that you can be a more well-rounded community member by being an athlete is something that is valued, and having that additional level.
So what that means and that, I think that's the case at almost every college, is that your athletic ability counts for something, in the sense of, I mean, it may count for, at the D1 level, financial money. And at all the levels, though, it counts for, I think, that well-roundedness that is seen by the schools. And so I know that at a lot of the schools, there's like a slot system. I've heard it called that before, where, you can leverage your athletic ability to actually help your academic case for getting into a certain institution.
Yeah, and it depends on the school, how much or how big a variance or a range you're able to use athletics for, and what that ultimately looks like. The way that it works in the NESCAC has changed dramatically in the last couple of years, where the old slotting system doesn't really exist anymore. But for a sense of being able to help people that are listening, the old cadence of how it worked was it was tiered. One standard deviation below, there was a certain amount of people you could get in, and 2 standard deviations below the admissions mean, there was a certain cadence of number of people you could get in order to have the athletic student body theoretically mirror the overall campus population, because not every kid who's admitted is at or above the average, or else the average would be higher. It's just the way math works.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Anything else, Garrett, about recruiting or the process that you think families should really know and hear as they kind of walk into this?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to keep the main thing. And it's student athlete for a reason. It's not athlete student. Obviously we coach a sport, and so we want that athleticism to come right after student, and mirror, and it's 1A, 1B, or 1 and 1A, like however you want to term it. And we got to try and pour as much as we can into the athletics as we do the academics to be successful at the college level. But if the academics don't come first, you're not going to have choices of schools like Wesleyan, and many other schools in baseball specifically. Yes, theoretically they can, every kid can be scholarship now, but there's not many programs where you have every kid's on scholarship. A lot of the scholarship you're going to get at that higher level is going to be through academic merit money. So go out and work as hard as you can in the classroom, in addition to as hard as you work on the playing field and in the gym, because it's either going to mean you can get into a school like ours and be able to open up doors that you could not otherwise, or it's going to be able to allow you the opportunity to be able to afford to go to another school that you may not have been able to afford to otherwise, because there's not enough baseball scholarships to be able to pay your tuition.
Well, thank you so much, Garrett, for all the advice. I know this is going to be super helpful to any of our kids and families who are just like going through this thing. And it's one of those things you do once in your life. And if you don't get it right, you might not get to do something that you love, And so I think, and have worked so hard for. So I think this is going to be great for them. Yeah. And listen, I'll just say this from our athletic department's perspective. We're here to help families and our athletes kind of navigate these waters. The folks in our office have, we have a lot of experience with this. We have resources like Garrett when we have questions. And so please come see us. If you want to go on to that next level, do not be shy. Our doors are open in the Mustang Athletic office in Dave Hart. Garrett, one last thing. You guys going to, where's the spring trip this year for Wesleyan's baseball team?
Yeah, so we're lucky at Wesleyan. We get 2 weeks, which Dusty and I remember fondly from our time at West. And this year we've changed it up. We're going to go down to Florida for 8 days, and then we're going to work our way back up the coast, go to Myrtle Beach for 4, and then finish up in Baltimore. Kind of reacclimate to the northern weather. Start up with Amherst that first week in April. So.
Oh my! I am offended that you're not coming to California, Garrett.
Maybe one day.
Come on back. We used to we went to Georgia once, and then we would always go to Southern California.
Nice.
Yeah. It was Georgia, and then even the year we went to Georgia, we went to Southern California. We'd always go to LA for the second week because Bruce Cohen would host the baseball team, and and then we did NorCal down to LA, and then we did Arizona to LA to NorCal our senior year. So
man, that was such a good time. The weather coming from the East Coast, you guys got like what, 2 feet of snow right now?
Yeah, it's been an unusually cold winter. Yeah, for sure. And usually here when it snows and it's pretty for a couple of days and then it melts and goes away. But we've been battling cold temperatures, so the snow's just kind of hung around. So hopefully we get a nice little snap, and maybe a cold winter means a warm spring.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope for your all sakes. I got out just in time, huh?
Yeah, I guess. So there's no surfing right now in Connecticut, that's for sure.
For sure. All right, Garrett, thank you so much, man.
You got it, Dust. Anytime. Anything I can do to help you or the Mustang program, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for giving us insight on that. And I think my big takeaway is just one little thing you said was just like a no can be a powerful thing. So for those, we talked about, could you get missed in this process? Could you do everything that Garrett told you, and could you still get missed? The answer is yes, it could happen, right? But there's more than one way to get to where you want to get to. And I've seen in this county alone, I've seen so many athletes go the non-traditional route who played JUCO ball, and then I'm talking football, and then wound up playing in the NFL. So for all of you listening who think you've got it and you're not being seen, like, let that be motivation for you to keep pushing. Let that light a fire under your butt. And once again, know that if God's got it for you, he's going to get you where he needs to get you. You got to put in the work and do your part and be resilient and not quit, but he'll get you where he needs to get you. Right? Amen.
And there's help out there for you. If you need that help, like, go get it. Come see us. We'll help you get seen if you're not being seen. So, amen. So, Mind of the Mustang. Again, this is Isaiah Guzman, Dusty Moniz. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you for coming on here. And our show, again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We are world famous and growing, universe famous. So, yeah. There you go. Guys. We'll catch you guys next time. Catch y'all. Bye.